Here's a trigonometric equation that we want to solve. It's 4 times the sine of x minus 3 times the cosecant of x. So with any of these trig equations, you want to get it into the same, you want the same trig function in the entire equation. And typically you only want sines and cosines. So you want to change anything that's not a sine or a cosine into a sine or cosine. So for example, this cosecant of x, you'll have to remember that cosecant of x is equal to 1 over sine of x. So I'm just going to replace the cosecant of x with 1 over sine of x. So this 3 times the cosecant of x becomes 3 divided by sine of x. Now, we need to solve this equation, and there's a sine of x here, you're dividing by a sine of x here. The best way to do for this type of equation is to move this term, 3 over sine of x, over to the other side. So we're going to add that. We have 4 sine of x equals 3 divided by sine of x on the right-hand side. Now, I'm just going to put this thing over 1, and then we can cross multiply. So this becomes 4 times sine squared of x, because sine of x times sine of x equals sine squared of x equals 3 times 1, which is just 3. Now we can divide both sides by 4. We get sine squared of x equals 3 over 4. And finally, we can take the square root of both sides. So this just becomes sine of x equals the square root of 3/4. Now, because we're taking the square root, we also have to take into consideration the negative square root. So this would be either this is the positive square root of 3/4 or the sine of x equals the negative square root of 3/4. Now, the square root of 3/4, you can rewrite that as the square root of 3 over the square root of 4, which is the square root of 3 over 2. So I'm going to rewrite it like that because this number, the square root of 3 over 2, is on the unit circle. So we have either the sine of x equals the square root of 3 over 2, or the sine of x equals the negative square root of 3 over 2. So looking at the unit circle, we have that sine of x equals square root of 3 over 2. Remember, sine of x is the second coordinate of each one of these points. So that's here at pi over 3 or 60 degrees for the positive square root of 3 over 2, or 120 degrees or 2 pi over 3. So that's the first equation. We get for the sine of x equals square root of 3 over 2, this gives us x equals 60 degrees or 120. That's pi over 3 or 2 pi over 3. And then for the sine of x equals negative square root of 3 over 2, we go to the unit circle and look for that. Negative square root of 3 over 2, that's over here. 240 degrees or 4 pi over 3, or 300 degrees, 5 pi over 3. So we get, for that one, x equals 240 degrees or 300 degrees. That's 4 pi over 3 or 5 pi over 3. So those are 4 different answers to this problem. So keep in mind you have to get all 4 of them to make sure you get all the solutions between 0 and 360 degrees.